have some Sims news that is almost so unbelievable that you might even think I'm lying. This genuinely feels like it could be an April Fool's joke, and yet somehow it is real. So in the last couple of days, there have been a bunch of reports about a potential Sims movie in the works being produced by Margot Robbie. So you see what I mean when I say it sounds like it could be a lie? There is a lot to unpack here, so I made a slideshow presentation for us to walk you through what we know so far. I'm gonna clarify a couple of things. First, I am not really an expert on the validity of these sorts of Hollywood reporters. Like, I don't really know what sorts of movie reporters we can trust because I just am not involved in that world at all. But there have been a lot of people and a lot of different places reporting on this, so I feel like it's probably not a lie. Also, just because a movie is in the works doesn't mean it's actually gonna get made. They haven't even written a script for this, right? So it's very early days. Also, in case it wasn't obvious, I don't know anything about this. I don't have like behind the scenes info. I don't know Margot Robbie. I'm just a girl who plays The Sims, okay? Okay, so this all started on Wednesday when my friend sent me this tweet. It's from @discussingfilm and it says, a live action The Sims movie is in the works. Margot Robbie is set to produce with Kate Herron set to direct. Source, The Insnider, which I guess is like some movie insider person. And of course they include a picture of Barbie and The Sims with this. And meanwhile, the group chat is losing it over this, okay? When we first saw this, the tweet was posted like 15 minutes ago, okay? So there wasn't a lot of other people talking about it. And then we see this tweet. Margot Robbie is reportedly producing a movie based on the video games The Sims via @TheInsnider. Again, Barbie and The Sims in the tweet. So I start quote tweeting these, right? I post, is this real? Like, there's no way, right? The Sims community is in shock, okay? I start posting memes like this picture of Paris Hilton at a Sims Online red carpet event, but then some more news starts coming out, like this Hollywood Reporter article, there was a People magazine article, there's a bunch of people talking about this online. So then I'm kind of starting to think, okay, maybe this production company actually is working on a Sims movie adaptation. So assuming this movie adaptation is real, what do we think it's gonna be like? I'd like to first walk you through a little bit more of what we know so far about the people who are working on this. Obviously, most of you probably know this already, but most recently, Margot Robbie was Barbie, like literally Barbie in the massive blockbuster success Barbie movie over the summer. She also produced that movie. And I think that is especially interesting because if I had to pick a single person with my limited Hollywood knowledge who could do a movie like this, I feel like the people who were involved in Barbie could do it well. Like, she's already demonstrated an ability to make a sort of weird adaptation. To give another example of a different big-timey recent video game adaptation, they're making that Last of Us TV show, and that's a little bit different because there's a story to that game, but with things like Barbie and The Sims, it's a little bit more open-ended, and more specifically, she's proven an ability to make a really good movie for the girlies. There's a huge overlap between the audience of the Barbie movie and the player base of The Sims, so I think that's a good sign. I don't know as much about Kate Herron, the proposed director, so I was looking her up. Most recently, she directed Loki on Disney+, which is a really high budget and really popular Marvel TV series. Unfortunately, I did not watch that because I do not care about Marvel in the slightest, but it sounds like a lot of people really like this Loki show. And from what I've read, she's apparently going to co-write the screenplay with someone called Brian E. Redman, and both of those women are very known for their work in comedy. Even here, like first line of Kate's Wikipedia, it says that she's known for her female-led comedies, so that's also probably a good sign. Again, with my very limited knowledge of these people, I at least hope that they could pull it off. So as far as other involvement goes, they also said in that Hollywood Reporter article that Electronic Arts will be involved in a creative and producing capacity, which is good. Like, you would assume the people who made the game would be involved in the production of it somehow. I'm really getting the vibes that this is gonna be very similar to Barbie, like with how Mattel was involved in Barbie, and I hope that EA will be as cool as Mattel was with the Barbie movie. I don't know if EA and cool are two words that you would normally put together in one sentence, but hey, maybe it'll be different this time. I know I touched on this a second ago, but I really feel like Barbie and The Sims are so similar. Seriously, if anyone could make a movie about The Sims successfully, I feel like the people who did Barbie could do it. Sims are basically dolls, so it's like Barbie 2.0. Again, same target audience, same open-ended narrative. In that article I just mentioned, they said on some level, Sims shares similar traits as Barbie. The game has no real narrative and features characters going about their lives, albeit controlled by game players. Barbie, as a toy, has no narrative, being a doll with an endless array of careers, controlled by players. I always joke that when I'm playing The Sims, I'm playing with my little virtual dolls. I've been saying for years that I never actually grew out of dolls, I just started playing The Sims instead. But then that kind of poses the question of what the movie would actually be about, and I've seen a lot of Simmers online kind of discussing and talking about this. So I've got 3 predictions, and I'll go through each of them. One of the more common things that I've seen brought up is people think it's gonna be about Sims lore. Like, there's a lot of discussion about the Bella Goth disappearance lore thing, possibly some other Sims lore, but more likely everybody is talking about Bella Goth. And then there's the theory that it might be some sort of original story, more Barbie-esque, where like a Sim becomes sentient or something and realizes that they're being controlled. If I'm being honest, I don't think they're gonna give us any lore. Maybe lore references, but I sincerely doubt the movie will be about the lore as we know it. I feel like most average people have not a single clue about this lore, and their goal is to appeal to the most people as possible. They're gonna try to appeal to that broad audience of people who don't really know much about The Sims, but have probably heard of it, maybe played it as a kid, and those people know about like removing the pool ladder and starting fires. They don't really know about the townie details like we do. They might recognize Bella Goth, but they won't know about her life story. And I know that as a core audience of Sims players, that's kind of disappointing, but we just have to think about this more practically. I do expect that they'd have cameos from Sims characters, kind of like how the Barbie movie had Alan and people like that popping up. So Bella Goth would probably be in it, but I don't think she'd be the main character. I'd like to think that we'd get appearances from people like the Landgrabs and the rest of the Goths, but I don't really know what to expect out of this. It's not even being made yet, so I don't think they know either. I do think that the main character will be an original character. That's kind of the whole point of The Sims. Like, we all play as original characters almost every time, so I feel like that's the direction they would go in. And thinking about this makes me genuinely kind of nervous. Like, what is the movie gonna be? I'm running through all these thoughts in my head, like, what if it's cringe? What if they ruin it? What if it's bad and embarrassing? If I had to guess right now what it would be like, I feel as though it would be something about some original Sim character going about her life when she starts to realize that she's being controlled, and she'll have some sort of realization about wanting to live her own life, and then we go on a quest to figure out the meaning of the world or something. That just feels like the most obvious choice to me, but I don't know. We'll see what they do with it. Hearing all of this news has made me think a lot about more recent video game adaptations. I mentioned the Last of Us TV show a second ago. They're also making an animated TV series about Among Us. They recently had a Five Nights at Freddy's movie come out. We had the Mario movie come out last year. We had the Sonic movies, which apparently there are 2 of. I didn't know that. I thought there was just 1. I wanted to mention the Sonic movie because there was big drama about the Sonic movie. When they first released information about it and people saw this original creepy hedgehog, the internet went up in flames. This Forbes article is titled "The Sonic Movie Gets a New, Less Terrifying CGI Hedgehog After Internet Meltdown." So thinking about that, that's what gets me nervous about the Sims movie. What if they do something really terrible and disastrous? Like that scares me. It's not like they have creepy hedgehogs to CGI though, so maybe we have less room for error, at least in that particular way. There's a lot of room for error in literally every other way. Thinking about all of these movies and the celebrities that are involved, like for example, Elijah Wood is gonna be in the Among Us TV show. It's got me thinking back to that Sims Online meme that I showed you. These are some Getty images, by the way, from that Sims Online premiere party, weird red carpet event they had. I don't even know how to explain this, but these pictures of Paris Hilton, they get me every time. Her holding this Sims box and posing with it is so funny to me. And then of course this one of Elijah Wood, like why is he posing and holding it like that? I don't even know where to start with these. But this makes me think about what the red carpet would be like for a Sims movie. Could you imagine celebrities dressing up as and referencing iconic townies on the red carpet? Kind of like how with Barbie they dressed up as old Barbies, but imagine if they dressed up as like Agnes Crumplebottom on the red carpet. I have a couple of examples to show you. So for all of the press events and premieres and stuff, Margot Margot dressed up as different Barbies. This one I think is my favorite, but she has a few other examples. She's even posing like a doll in these pictures, which is just so funny to me. I feel like there's a lot of potential with The Sims and something similar to this. I do have one example of a Sims dress up. This is the cover of the Katy Perry Sweet Treats pack from The Sims 3, and that obviously, unfortunately, is me. But could you imagine someone dressing up like this for the Sims premiere? I know for a fact that some of you have probably never seen this before, and if this is your first experience with Katy Perry Sweet Treats, I'm so sorry. This is in fact an entire stuff pack, a $20 stuff pack that they made for The Sims 3, and for some reason they had Katy Perry as like a massive sponsor of it, and they made this really bizarre set of like Candyland stuff. You can see a couple of examples, like this weird cupcake fence. It was a really strange pack, probably the most mocked Sims pack of all time, but now it's been long enough that it's kind of come back around and now it's iconic again, which kind of gets me thinking about what sorts of collabs they could do with the Sims movie in the game. I don't really like the idea of a pack. I hope they don't do a pack. I would prefer it to be in free updates, but they could totally add items from the movie into the game for us. It's kind of a weird give and take because the movie is gonna want to reference the game and use existing in-game stuff, but they could recreate costumes and clothing that the cast is wearing and put them into The Sims. I love the idea of making a movie poster based on the real life one. We have a bunch of movie posters like this one already in the game that are based around fake movies, but could you imagine if they made the movie poster and then put it inside of an update in the game? I would prefer for it to be in Simlish and not in English. I know that sometimes when they're doing branding collabs, the brand is like, no, you're putting my real life brand logo on there. But I don't like it when in-game stuff has English text. I would prefer for it to be Simlish instead. Real typing just kind of takes you out of the immersion of The Sims. Does that make sense? But also I think they could make merch in the game. They did this weird Sim Sessions collab a couple summers ago where they made real life artists come into a concert in Willow Creek. And when they did that, they made merch t-shirts for those artists. So there's like a BB Rexa merch t-shirt in cast. They could totally sell a real life Sims movie merch t-shirt and then make that in the game as well. They could potentially make an official lot for download based on the set. There's a lot of opportunity to recreate all these real life things in the game for us. I think my main takeaway is that I just don't want it to be a pack. I would way rather have it be a couple free updates. I would also urge them to be careful about adding celebrities into the game. They've done that a couple of times, and I think almost every time it has backfired on them. Just as one example, way back in the Sims Superstar pack, like in the Sims 1, they made a few real life celebrities in the game, including Avril Lavigne, and get this, she was a nightmare for them to make because her team had so many weird demands. Just to give an example, she could not pee or have a relationship with another Sim. It makes sense. I understand why they wouldn't want her represented in that way, but like in that case, maybe just don't make a Sim. I've seen developers talk about how this was such a nightmare. It kind of scared them off from working with real celebrities and actually putting them in game for years. Because they did go in and make like a Hilary Duff Sim that you could download and put into your game, but they didn't actually put celebrities in the game because of this for a long time. Actually, until The Sims 4. With The Sims 4, they had that really weird collab with baby Ariel around when Get Famous came out. So they made her as an NPC townie and put her in the pack. There's a few other celebrities they did, but all of the other ones are like references to old Sims games or pretend people. She was the only real life person they did. Weirdly, she also has a hidden trait that makes her immortal, kind of like Daddy Winter and the Crumple Bottoms are. And this, I think, has really backfired, especially right now because she has been posting a ton of anti-Palestine stuff online, which is extremely disappointing and upsetting to see, and she is permanently in The Sims 4. So just as we're talking about this potential Sims movie, I'd like to point out that maybe we should not make the cast into townies. I think they can make the cast as Sims and like put them on the gallery, but I would not put them in the game as like actual NPCs. Obviously it's risky, but it's also just kind of weird to see real humans added as townies and then just kind of encounter them on the street in game. I would prefer to avoid it. I'm not really into that, and I would prefer if they didn't do it. I do have a couple messages directly for Margot Robbie. So Margot, if you are listening, you don't have to put us in the movie. I have seen a lot of people online wanting Simmer cameos in the movie. If you look at the replies to my tweet, you'll see a lot of people saying Lil Simsie better be in the movie. I don't expect that. I don't think it's a realistic option. However, I would not say no if you asked me. I do have one demand though, and it's that you have to invite Simmers to the premiere. If you make a Sims movie and then leave us out of it, not a good idea. You are not allowed to make a Sims movie and then leave us out of it. This is my one and only shot to go to a movie premiere, and I will be taking it, so you have to invite me. And also, we will accept money to promote your film. I say we because I'm kind of speaking for the Sims community here, but I will take your ad money. I know you're gonna have a huge marketing budget. Give it to us. We deserve sponsors for this. I've got a whole bunch of ideas for that already, and my business email is down below, okay? Thank you, Margot. But overall, to end this video, if this actually is real, this is a huge win for the Sims community. Could you imagine how many more people would play The Sims if they actually made this film? Because obviously a lot of people do play The Sims 4, but how many millions of others haven't played The Sims like since they were a kid playing The Sims 2? There are so many people that have childhood nostalgia about this game, but have maybe forgotten about it or haven't thought about it in a long time. And that creates like the perfect storm because the game is free to play now. So the movie is like a huge glaring advertisement reminder about The Sims, and it's free, so everybody can play it. I feel like a ton more players would pick it back up, and I think that's great for a few reasons. Number one, it's just fun, so I'd like more people to have the chance to remember that. I think it would be cool for them to revisit that childhood nostalgia. But number two, maybe people would take us more seriously because the gaming community as a whole does not like The Sims. They think it's like cringe in a girl game. Stupid opinion, but they do think that. So if we got a huge big-timey movie, it could go either way. It could make us be taken more seriously or make us into a joke. Who knows what's gonna happen? That's out of our control. But also, and this is more on the business side for EA specifically, they're gonna get more money for Project Renee out of this. That's this new future of the Sims game they're making right now. I think that currently they are really pushing Sims 4 packs to fund Renee. Why do you think we got 3 expansion packs last year, right? Like they're really trying to sell us Sims 4 DLC to get money for that. So a movie like this would be huge for them. I don't know what the timeline for Renee or this movie is, but I would assume that it's years away for both. I wonder if it would be possible for them to come out at the same time, because that would be ideal scenario for The Sims. Unless Renee is bad, that would be really bad. But as fans of The Sims, I think that those are good things. Like them having more money, having the pressure of the movie, I think that would make Renee better, which is what we want, right? So it's just something to think about. I really don't know how long movies like this take to make. Obviously movies take a long time, but I feel like I don't really hear about or follow films from this early of a stage. It's not even been written yet, so we have a long ways to go. But I'm really curious to hear what your thoughts are in the comments. Are you excited about this? Are you horrified by this? Because I think I'm a little bit of both. I'm leaning more excited, but I do have some deep fears about this being a disaster. I just really love The Sims, and this is such a cool chance for us to get a really weird niche movie out of it. But there's been talk about a Sims movie forever, so I don't know. I don't know if it's actually gonna end up happening. And if it does, even then, I don't know how I'm gonna feel about it. But with that, I am gonna end this video right here. Thank you for watching. If you liked this one, I mostly play The Sims, not just talk about it. But if there's updates about this, I will let you know. So make sure you're subscribed to my channel, and I will catch you all tomorrow. Okay? Bye, everybody. Guys, I feel like a brat making demands about cameos and premiere invites, but like, come on. This is my chance. Margot, please, 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 please.